I wanted to start today's video out reading a post that I had seen from yours that stuck out to me back earlier in the year. And it was an update post that you'd made. It was kind of similar to the one that I'd found about Michael and Katrina's progress, I think a year after they had begun. And it was just really impactful. And I think a lot of people would get value out of seeing how far you've come and what it's done for your life and your lifestyle, and would love to get updates from that after going through it and just sort of hear how things have progressed since the beginning of the year. So what you wrote back on March 7th was big shout out and thank you to Michael and Katrina for helping us live our best lives. Their course is something that we will never regret doing. It has helped us replace a full-time job in less than 2 years, has given us freedom and flexibility in our daily lives, and has allowed us to do the things that we love most, which is travel. Ditto on that. While vacationing in Fiji this week, it's definitely on my bucket list. We've been reflecting on how much we appreciate our business and how far we've come on this journey. We've accomplished the following this week while putting in about 30 minutes of work each day. Listed a brand new property without being there, signed on 3 new listings, renewed contracts for 4 of our best listings, kept our calendar completely filled up, and are getting bookings, new bookings daily. Seeing the entire island of Fiji with highlights including visiting local villages, seeing 100+ sharks on the coolest scuba dive. Wow, that's incredible. Relaxing in spas and on beautiful beaches, experiencing the delicious local cuisine, disconnecting and recharging while trusting our team with everything at home, and most importantly, fell in love with each other all over again. I love that. We had 0 hospitality experience prior to all of this, which is something I wanted to talk about today, was just what your backgrounds were and how you got into this, other than our own experiences staying in Airbnbs in the past. So as guests, that was your only prior experience in the short-term rental market.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you add on, it wasn't always easy by any means. It still isn't always easy. We spend countless hours and late nights at properties, working out kinks, answering guest inquiries. Long story short, if you truly put in the work, trust the systems that you put into place, learn from your mistakes, and follow the process, the sky is the limit. Thank you to the community. So that's the STR Wealth Academy that you guys run, and that's fantastic. Kudos to you guys, Michael and Katrina, and obviously for you two to put in the work and realize those results is, I'm certain, very rewarding for you. So congratulations on all of that. So my name is Matthew. I run this channel. It's called VIP Financial Education. We talk about ways of maximizing cash flow. And I've said it for the last 3 years since meeting Michael and Katrina that if I were in a position to start another side hustle, or if I were to lose everything and start over from scratch, their model simply makes the most sense to me from a risk reward standpoint. The upside potential of this model, the barriers of entry are fairly limited. You don't need a lot of capital. In some cases, you could probably even argue that you don't need any. You don't need great credit in most cases. I usually think great credit tends to help with most things. So it just is something that I think with a total lack of experience, people that are willing to grind it out are able to see some incredible things happen. So I wanted to talk with you two about that today and just get a firsthand perspective. Like I said, I've been in the short-term rental space for 5 years, but I did it differently than them. And with their partnership model, I think that they've really sort of revolutionized this industry. And there's been so many changes, right? So the last couple of years have sort of seen new trends in the short-term rental space, not all of which are positive. And I think that people are a little bit timid right now, possibly just flat out unwilling to even get into the industry. So let's talk about where you guys are at. First of all, how did you discover the short-term rental wealth academy?
Yeah, so for us, our experience kind of starting off with everything was, like you mentioned, we had no experience in the past with short-term rentals or anything like that. We were just simply guests at Airbnbs and staying in these vacation homes ultimately. And then during COVID, when that kind of everything started coming down, we were looking at different ways to kind of expand our, our experience and our income as well during that time. And there was a post, I was a friend of Katrina's through Facebook groups and stuff like that. And I clicked on the post, saw a post about their program, and then we basically booked a call with them to kind of see what they can offer in the program and what they were doing. So it was quite intriguing for me. For Oksana, not so much. She was kind of thinking, okay, you know what, this is just another one of those, groups, promoting their program, their coaching,
It
and
just sounded too good to be true.
Yeah.
That's all. I was just hesitant.
and then from there we kind of
which is valid. You probably saw the same post I did back at that time.
Yep, probably.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would imagine. Yeah. And so how old are you? And it's Taras and Oksana, correct? Okay.
Yeah,
So what are your ages?
Yep. So 33.
And 28.
Okay. All right, great. Where do you guys live?
We live in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah, here.
So have you concentrated your business primarily in that region, or are you expanding and doing it to some extent virtually at this point?
Yeah, so the majority of our listings are here in Edmonton. Close to home, local. We have the most control that way, and being able to kind of learn the business. But we also have purchased a property in Canmore, Alberta, and then we also have one listing in Lethbridge and then Leduc as well nearby here. So
it was easiest to start here in Edmonton just because we were on the ground. We were doing a lot of the things initially to set up our business. And then afterwards, it was really just rinse and repeat. And so we were able to take on properties virtually.
Okay, I see. And so let's talk a little bit about that virtual aspect, because I think that's a huge perk to any business you can get into, is if you can design it in a way that is compatible with the lifestyle goals that you have. A lot of people like the idea of being able to run things virtually, myself too. How challenging would you say this product or program would be for somebody that's looking to do something outside of their general territory? And I ask that question because with all the restrictions that are coming into the industry that seem to be geographically isolated, I would imagine that people who live in a specific area, the one that jumps out at me right now, just because of all the attention it's gotten recently, is New York, right? Let's say I live in New York, but I really like the idea of this program. Michael and Katrina give me the blueprint. I simply follow the steps they provide, use the scripts, and obviously I would have to look outside of my market. Would you guys think that would be doable for someone like that?
I think it is. We always joke, if we have to always start over, we can kind of be dropped off on any island and just basically start all over again and do it the same way we are doing here in Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes down to the systems, what you're learning through the program, and kind of what you've learned throughout the process. So it's very important to have kind of the boots on the ground, having the major pieces covered, the cleaners, the maintenance, and the guest communication. Everything else is just a system, making sure you kind of plug it in and you're just on top of everything at all points. So you just really need to know the legislation and the jurisdictions that you're working in, and really educate yourself on that, on the market, the good areas, the bad areas. And I think the rest is just, plug and play your systems and make sure you have the right people in place that you trust and that you're basically putting into play.
And how closely were you guys following the roadmap that you paid for through their program? What, did you detour much from that? Did you feel like that was really a foundation that you needed to rely on? Was this something you think you could have gone out and tackled on your own with just the simple concept of either A, arbitrage, or B, partnerships?
No, we followed it step by step. Every step of the way, we really followed Michael and Katrina, and even reached out with more questions. It did at first seem like it'd be easy for us to jump in and try it out ourselves. And we know people that have attempted it, but they really helped us get things rolling faster. And just having that step-by-step guide helped us get to where we are today. So I do think that that's exactly the reason why we got to where we are.
Yeah, I think a big piece of it is that it's very, it's like a curriculum, right? Like this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. I mean, you could kind of jump in between all the steps, but then you might work backwards. They've done it, they're still doing it. And I think that's the biggest benefit there, is it's not just theory, it's actually in practice. So
Mhm.
having the right start right off the beginning, you're not going to have to fix your mistakes. You're not going to have to redo things. You just know the step-by-step process from the very beginning. That being said, you're still going to make your mistakes. And then it's just a template to follow, but the
Mhm.
template is very much a working template, and we're living proof of it. A lot of their students are living proof of it. And it's just a matter of, following through with all of that and
Putting in the hours,
putting in
putting
the
in the work.
hours. Yeah.
So what were you guys doing when you started? How were you making a living at the time?
Yeah, so I was a sports executive working in the sports industry and events space, working for various sports and just managing basically all their events and things like that. And Oksana was a nurse. So, I guess was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it
I
wasn't.
was going to say that one key word keeps jumping out of me. You see, you use the term was in the past tense for both of you. Does that mean that you've each resigned from those previous careers at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And was it really because of this new business that you built and you're doing this exclusively now?
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
We started in the business thinking, you know what, it'll just be a kind of a side hustle, side gig, make a couple extra dollars on the side. Quickly realized that wasn't possible unless we quit our jobs. We were fortunate enough to kind of build into it because I was working remote at the time. So then within a year, I dropped out of my job, focused on this. And then
I held on for a long time, but I did finally resign last month. So
last month. Wow.
Yeah. So now
That
we're
is
both
remarkable. Congratulations to both of you.
thank you.
Well, I had a great conversation with Michael and Katrina last week, and they've always been really transparent, and we're going to pull back the curtain on some of their numbers. Again, I think this is something we've done multiple times, but they revealed to me that they're on pace to break somewhere around $5 million this year from the 65 properties that they're managing. And you don't have to share if you choose not to, but I am curious, so I have to ask. What do you guys think you'll come out with this year in terms of top line revenues for your company?
Yeah, so since the beginning, we kind of grew slowly, and then now being at 26 properties listings, I guess, we're going to probably break that $1 million mark for this year on top line revenue.
That is absolutely fantastic. That's a fun one. That's a great milestone to hit. It's that $1 million year. I'm sure you guys are pushing hard to make it happen, at least by next year. No questions asked, right? So how have some of the changes in the industry been impacting you, if at all? A lot of people seeing the doom and gloom and the Airbnbust, lots of media is putting the FUD out there right now about the short-term rental space. Are you seeing much change in your business at all?
We're obviously watching it closely. We have kind of plans of expanding, of course. We're just watching out where that's going to be, just collecting our cash right now, waiting for that opportunity. I think there's going to be a lot of pain moving forward for a lot of people, but when there's pain, there's opportunity. And I think it's just a matter of how you shift your business. We're going into more midterm rentals, not necessarily long-term. We always love the short-term game. But I think with jurisdictions changing, laws and taxes and stuff like that are changing as well. We're just looking at different ways to shift our models. And that being said, we're still going to continue on the short-term rental side of things, but we're looking into shifting into more insurance companies, things like that, where you can kind of leverage that risk a little bit more and diversify your income a little bit differently.
I like that. I do think diversification is really important. What would you say to somebody that is considering getting into this space, and maybe they've heard stories that it's oversaturated and maybe they missed their window of opportunity? Do you think it's too late to start?
Absolutely not. There's more and more need. There's more and more travel happening, especially coming out of that whole COVID ramp up. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, and if you can become kind of the top level accommodations, there's not a lot of those in the industry. I think a lot of people think it's an easy income. I think they can just list their property, their basement suites, whatever they have, and just make $1. I think that used to be the case, 10 years ago when all of this kind of started. But now cleanliness, maintenance, making sure that properties are really taken care of and is truly a home away from home. Those are the properties that are going to stand out. And that's where the effort and the industry we feel is going.
Yeah.
Really providing a solution to a problem that exists out there, right? And it's a lack of luxury rentals, high-end rentals, and not just listing kind of your home or your bed on or your room on the platform.
Totally.
We're obviously going to include a playlist in the description with links to the other videos we've done so people can get a longer form explanation as to exactly how the partnership model works. But when a friend or family member asks you what you do, how do you guys normally go about explaining to somebody that might be listening to this for the first time and really has absolutely no familiarity with this model? How would you sort of sum it up?
Yeah, we basically tell them that we manage short-term rentals, and we take care of all the guests that come through. Overall, just that short-term rental where we have to worry about all the maintenance, the cleaning, everything that goes in, that's involved in turnovers.
Yeah, we're ultimately a property management service from a short-term rental perspective. So we're managing guests on a day-to-day basis versus kind of that month-to-month basis, where long-term, rental property managers do. So we're simply selling the fact that their properties are going to make more money. Ultimately, they're more taken care of because of all the cleaning, the maintenance that we do on a day-to-day basis, and it's always in sellable condition. So that's what we pride ourselves in. Our listings are, high quality listings. We don't just take on any properties, and that's earned us a lot of respect because we're not just taking on any kind of property. And people see that when they come to our properties. We always joke, if our parents would stay in it, then that's a listing that we would take on, or that property we would take on. So our parents have high standards.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure those have the same.
Yeah. If you're willing to put the people you love the most in the properties, then it might be up to par for you. I'm assuming there's other factors that have to be prerequisites for you to take one on, but like proximity and general, occupancy rates are affected by where properties are located, of course, too. So I'm sure you're thinking about everything. Tell me this then, what would you say would have been like your biggest challenge along the way? If people are sort of trying to set the stage, they're saying, look, I am looking to either expand my short-term rental experience. I'm looking to get into the market for the first time. Trying to decide if I want to start a business versus trying to go a more passive route with the money I have available to me. What would you tell that person has been your biggest struggle so far?
Yeah, I think the struggle is time management. I think you really have to leverage your time. You only have an X amount of time in your day, and you have to figure out what you want to use that time for. So whether it's expanding to 50 properties, 100 properties, or focus on one specific property, pick the right market, pick the right people to work with, and I think you'll flourish regardless of if it's your own business or working for someone. It's just a matter of time management and just really picking and choosing the properties you want to manage and what type of situations you're going to run into with that property. So really thinking ahead of time before taking anything on.
Yeah, and just having all of your systems in place too. So if something does go sideways, you're prepared for it. You know how to react.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how did you guys manage your time so well while you were both working full time? How did that? Was there any conflict for you guys at that point in terms of dealing with issues that may have come up with existing guests? And here you are sitting in a meeting for your 9 to 5, or you're helping a patient, Oksana. How did you guys actually handle these issues? Did you hire a great team and delegate some of that work away? Was it through virtual assistants? How did you actually deal with the stuff that came up?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think one thing that really worked well for us was the fact that Taras was working from home, because as soon as COVID hit, he had to be remote. So I think that helped. Usually his meetings wouldn't be longer than 60 minutes. So if we really needed to, if someone needed to be there and deal with something, it wouldn't be that long. For myself, it was difficult because if I was at work, my phone was off. I couldn't help. But really getting that team and delegating tasks, we learned really quickly that we can't do everything ourselves. Our cleaners, just being able to ask them for help. Simple things like changing out batteries for us or light bulbs. We were afraid to ask in the beginning, and then we quickly learned that no, those are tasks that they're capable of doing. Let's hand things off.
Yeah, and I think every single time we ran into an issue, we wrote it down.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is about systemizing things. It's if you're getting the same question over and over and over again, it's not a problem that you're causing anymore. It's the problem that you need to solve.
Yeah.
So how can you solve that problem? Write it down, write a system in place, keep it very simple, and then give that to your team to basically act on that and really make sure that they know how to do it and training them to do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say those are the important pieces, and then managing the time from, this hour to this hour, we're working on specific tasks, and then this hour is, personal time, mental time.
There are a lot of sacrifices along the way. Like it wasn't easy by any means, and it's still not easy. There's, certain events that we don't go to because we're busy or earlier on. Now we have a better work-life balance for sure, especially now that we're both in it fully. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy.
Constant learning is what it is.
Yeah.
So how many hours would you estimate you're putting in on a weekly basis on average now?
Yeah, so I mean, in the mornings it's just, checking prices, things like that. So an hour or two in terms of emails, some pricing. And then from there, it's just maintenance on the day-to-day basis. If there's anything that's urgent, you delegate it to your team, you write it down. So hours, I mean, we're definitely working less than 20, kind of on a week-to-week basis, but sometimes it's quite a bit more, sometimes it's a lot less. It just depends on the work that's required from week to week.
It's what you make of it. We've done quite a bit of traveling during this journey as well. So we know if we're going away, we don't want to be working as much. So we try to work harder before we head out. And then while we're away, it can be quick 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day while we're gone. Some days, none. Right now, we're trying to reassess a few things and just shifting our priorities in the business. So right now we are putting in a lot of hours, but I mean, it's really what you make of it and what you want for yourself. If you want to grow really quickly, if you want to add new systems, I mean, the sky's the limit. You can work really, really hard. The rewards are incredible. So yeah, there's weeks where we don't, and there's weeks where we put in tons of hours and stay up late still to this day. But we want to be doing this for ourselves and because we see the rewards.
Yeah, if you give yourself 40 hours in a week, you're going to be working 40 hours. If you give yourself 20, you're going to work 20. So yeah, and just if you want to work hard, you're going to have to put in some hours, and it's a matter of how you're using those hours.
Yeah.
We'll sit there for, a couple hours and might not get anything done at all. And then you say, okay, I have 1 hour, I have to get this and this done. And your time is more effective that way. So really like blocking out scheduled time during the day makes it important.
So what percentage of your time that you're allocating each week is dedicated towards the growth side versus the management and sustainability side, right? If you just said, look, we're good at 26, we don't need any more properties under management, what, how much time would really your systems that are in place now take you relative to how many hours you're actually putting in a week?
Yeah, I would say 90% of that time is spent on business growth, reevaluating systems, SOPs, things like that. And the actual day-to-day management of the property itself, I would say less than an hour a week. You're just checking prices every day, every morning, and the inquiries that come in and making sure that things are in check with your cleaners. But in terms of property management specifically, I would say it's less than an hour a day.
Incredible. That is fantastic. And just to clarify again, I mentioned earlier in the interview that this really doesn't require a lot of the same resources that starting and operating other businesses might, especially, it's just not as capital intensive, and you just don't need great credit like you would if you were to go out and acquire properties versus partnering and managing for an owner. And so I guess I'm just kind of curious, based on your perspective, first of all, what ratio of the 26 properties are you arbitraging? And for those that don't know, arbitrage is simply paying for a lease, and you're the tenant with permission to sublet, and you're therefore short-term renting to guests under your master lease. Essentially, you're generally responsible for the furnishings, decor, and amenities, versus the partnership model, which I personally give credit to Michael and Katrina for pioneering. I'm sure there were other people that were probably dabbling in something similar, but you're the first I've ever seen, and simply one of the only I've ever found since that have sort of pioneered that space, whereby you're really going in and designing a partnership model with the homeowner who is ultimately responsible for the furnishings, decor, amenities, upkeep, and maintenance of the property outside of the cleaning and taking care of anything that might incidentals that may happen with guests. How do you guys split your business? Are you guys doing all partnerships? Are you doing a combination of arbitrage and partnerships? Or is it all arbitrage?
Yeah, so we've kind of started out with the arbitrage model because it was an easier way to kind of get into leases, things like that, where
Get
homeowners,
experience. Put your
experience
name out there.
and trust from the homeowners and things like that. So we obviously kind of pitched them the benefits of that. Right now, with the 26 listings, we have 2 arbitrage and the rest are partnership, and then we have 4 that we own ourselves. So basically, yeah, the majority of them are now partnerships. We've swapped over almost the whole portfolio to partnership because we see the benefit of that. You're at 0 to 100 very quickly versus having to put up that cash up front and then having to pay it back over time, which is still a very good model and a good way to start. But over time, we've just gained the trust and the reputation of being able to, go into the partnership model, and we just understand and have that ability to do that now at this stage of our business.
And how much? And just a couple more questions for you guys, if you don't mind. I won't belabor this, but how much momentum do you develop over time? Because I would, my instinct would tell me that as you're growing your portfolio of properties you've managed, you're building a reputation, you're able to approach people with almost like a pitch deck, and you can sort of show what other homeowners have experienced and the profit splits that have been paid out. It almost sells itself, right? Versus the early stages of getting in and you're trying to convince people that you're the best at it and you've never done it before. So how did that affect you throughout this process?
Yeah, at the beginning, like you said, it was all about getting your name out there, trying to figure out what your business is really going to be.
Getting denied left, right, and center.
It was a lot of no's before.
Gotta like rejection.
Yeah, it took 2 months before we got our first listing, but as soon as we got the first one, it was boom, boom, boom. We got 3 right away. And then from there, it was 6, and then 9, and then we were at 12 without even realizing.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate because we haven't had to really market ourselves. We've had a lot of referrals, which has been helping us grow quickly. Because in the beginning, we really had to reach out, but I would say after about 4 properties, right? 4 properties, then they just started kind of coming to us, and then we're at the point where we're able to be selective, which is really great. Because we could be a lot bigger, but we, like I said, we're just trying to restructure things right now, and we're able to be selective, which is really great for us.
Now we're the ones saying no a lot more than yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of come full circle, and we're always growing. We're always looking at the opportunities, and like you said, depending on where you are, the jurisdictions, things like that, the market changes for sure, and certain homes just aren't worth taking on for the short-term rental side of things. But yeah, it's just now all referrals at this point, and we've done almost very little marketing at this point, almost 0. Social media is something that we want to grow, and I think once we expand that a little bit more, we'll definitely see a lot more traffic on that side of things. But yeah, ultimately all referrals at this point.
And when you were getting referrals along the way, was this prospecting and networking that was suggested through the course, or was this a unique advantage that you two had based on your own personal network?
No, it was all just grinding through the system, right? We reached out to properties we thought had potential. We offered them what we thought was a good service, and kind of the thing was we were solving a problem, right? And ultimately, homeowners that are looking for their homes to be managed, they're looking to solve a problem, and we were solving that problem for them. So that's kind of how we approached it. But that being said, we did have a couple of friends that reached out to us. Again, they had the same problem with long-term tenants, and we were able to kind of have a stopgap as a short-term rental management company. So we've had a mix of both.
And we've also had several guests approach us, which has been really rewarding when they've stayed in our properties and said, I really liked how you did this. I happen to be moving right now. I have a property. Would you be able to walk me through it? And would you be able to take this one on for us? So being able to provide them with that quality stay enough to show them that they can do it themselves, that was really neat for us.
I love it. Well, I mean, it almost goes without saying. Well, I guess another question came to mind. Thinking back to 2021, which was your first year in business, you guys remember what you generated?
First year, we have the numbers from the first 2 years.
Yeah.
It was $1 million in revenue in the first two, and then this year is that one extra million. So it's been quite a significant growth from the first year to the second. We basically double our revenue from year one to year two.
Year 2 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Got it. So you broke 300 year one, doubled it year two, and then about to hit $1 million. It's phenomenal growth. I mean, that trajectory is fantastic. Well, you guys deserve all the credit in the world, that's for sure. I feel a little bit stupid to ask the question, but would you guys make the case that the investment you paid to get into this program was worth it for you?
Within the first 6 months, it was all cash from there.
Yeah.
I mean, we put up, like I said, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, but yeah, it's paid off significantly.
That's wonderful. If you had to pick one thing that you wish was maybe improved upon, constructive feedback, what would you argue you would have liked to see and didn't initially?
Yeah, from the program perspective or from?
Yeah, from the program perspective. I mean, I know there's a million complications and challenges that can happen in the management side. You don't need to cause any PTSD on my side by bringing any of that up right now, because I've had my fair share for sure. But yeah, from the program side, what would you say you maybe had an expectation of that didn't necessarily hit?
Yeah,
I think overall, we've been very grateful. And I think everything that the program offered then was very, very helpful. I think the program has grown significantly. Now they're able to connect with other people that are going through the same thing. I think at the time we felt very alone. But now I know they're doing group sessions. So I think that's really great for everybody going through it. Because yeah, it can be a very lonely business. And I think that was really tough. And especially us trying to keep up with our full-time jobs, doing this on the side. We didn't tell any of our family or friends about this for a full year because we really wanted to prove it to ourselves.
I love that, actually.
We knew what
quietly
we were doing.
Succeeding.
Yeah, so I think that I don't even know if that's really like criticism to the course, like constructive criticism. I think that was just something for us that we've learned, and I think that's something that they've probably noticed too, and that's why certain changes have been made.
I think they built the community out very well. When
yeah.
we started, there wasn't much of a community.
Yeah.
We had a couple local people that were doing it. And that's kind of, I think, what a lot of people are seeking in this industry or this business. They want someone to kind of bounce ideas off of. They want that business or that community to build their business with and to hear their problems. And they've done a really good job growing their program to basically alleviate that pain point for a lot of individuals. Whereas when we started, it was a lot of kind of lonely time. And that being said, it was a lot of one-on-one with Michael and Katrina as well. So that
saved us. I think that was, because there's a ton of questions early on, but a lot of dumb questions too. Looking back at the questions that we had messaged Michael and Katrina, of course, it's just all part of the process. But I think if you have others going through the same thing at the same time, which you obviously do, it'd be nice to bounce those ideas off of each other.
Well, I think you definitely highlighted something that I don't personally hear discussed often, which is just how lonely it can be to transition from that W-2'd experience into the self-employment and business development side of life. And when the majority of people that you're surrounded by are still working the typical job, and here you are out on your own, trying to forge your own way, it can feel like you're lost a lot of the time. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. I'm probably so delusional at this point, having done it for 25 years, that you kind of made me think back in the day of how many times I probably have felt really lonely being a business person. So it probably helped a lot having both of you on board and committed to the process, I would guess, because at least you had each other and you could lean into each other for support too. All right, well, that's fantastic. Michael and Katrina, I really appreciate you guys coming on as well. Always, I kind of kept you in the corner over there because I like to get really straight answers from the client's perspective, good, bad, and ugly. And it really it says a lot about what you're designing and continuing to improve on, that it's stood the test of time. And here we are 3 years later, and we're still having conversations about it and talking about success stories. And that's really the only way to know. We try to vet people very heavily before inviting them on our channel, just to make sure that our audience is always protected. And you guys have always gone above and beyond and exceeded expectations. So nicely done. It's got to feel pretty good to retire people, right?
Well, we appreciate you having us back on the channel, Matt. And thank you to Terrell and Oksana. You made our jobs tremendously easy today.
You guys are dream clients, and you're not sugarcoating anything. You're like, you know, we put our blood, sweat, and tears in this. It's like you're starting a business from scratch, right?
I liked how the majority of answers were, so what was the secret to this? It's like, you know, we just worked really hard and then it worked out. And it's like, yeah, that's generally how most things work. You just work really hard.
Yeah, with the shortcuts, but applying the shortcuts and just kind of following the formula, exactly what you're saying. Just like, you know, rinse and repeat, but you guys did it. Like we always say, it's kind of like a fitness coach. Like we can give you the program, but we can't do the push-ups for you. So you guys did it, and you guys did it awesome. And you guys are continuing to grow, which we love.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking for those shortcuts and looking just for that quick buck. This is not the industry for you. This is not the business for you. There's a lot of trials and tribulations that you have to go through, but yeah, the rewards are 100% worth it. So.
Well, and you know, it's funny because I see people making the case that, oh, it's, you know, it's so hard to build a business, but I would argue that your jobs prior to this were probably fairly challenging too. And if you were to add up the 80 hours plus you each worked at your other jobs and put it into this business, instead of that, you would have gotten it off the ground faster and gotten to a point where you were exceeding what you were earning at those jobs much more quickly anyhow. So, you know, I think a lot of times being a business person does get a bad rap in terms of just how much hard work goes into it, but it translates, in my opinion, from what other people, I would much rather be doing this and what you guys are doing than going out and working for somebody else with a cap to my income potential, you know, somebody else determining what my schedule is going to be, while still always running the risk of them eventually letting me go if they chose to or had to. And, you know, that to me is where you guys have really done a wonderful job creating freedom, and probably not with any more effort than you were exerting at those previous positions. I think the hardest part really is that transitional period where you have to do both, because you're not making enough at the new one yet to replace what you're making at the old one. So now you're doubling up, essentially. You know, that's the hardest period, I think. And you guys managed to do it and tough it out through that stage. So that's what it takes. And here you are, and probably never imagined that you could ever even earn these types of numbers in your old lives. So this is pretty fantastic. Were you guys always entrepreneurial deep down, or how did you decide that, hey, we need to make a change?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We weren't. We don't have any kind of major business backgrounds or anything like that. It's something we've always wanted to do, is have our own business. We just had no idea how to do it. And we didn't have any kind of ideas of what that's going to look like. We just knew we wanted freedom. We wanted to work for ourselves and grow something for ourselves, for our future, for our long-term wealth. We found this to be kind of one of the quicker ways to do it, but also rewarding, and also a way to build something that's sustainable, ultimately. And real estate's one of those avenues for that long-term wealth. And we just found a different niche that a lot of people use to kind of to grow their wealth. So, but yeah, like you said, you're putting in the hours, but for yourself. So it's really up to you to kind of cap yourself, and you can cap yourself at a certain level, or you can continue growing, and you know, sky's the limit. Whereas, you know, like you said, W2 jobs have a limit, and it's hard to kind of get past that point unless you're, you know, seeking new jobs or new promotions, and even then, it's a bit of a slog. So.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's true. I mean, anything you're doing between 9 to 5 is probably just to pay the bills, and anything after 5 is the investment into the future that you guys have proven is worthwhile. So those after hours have certainly paid off for you. I want to thank you guys all once again, just to come on and share the story. It takes a lot of courage and transparency, and not everybody's comfortable doing that. You guys made it very clear, and, you know, I'm more enticed than ever. It makes me want to sell everything I have and start this. I constantly second guess everything I've ever done every time I have Michael and Katrina on. So here I am again, but I appreciate you guys willing to do this. Thank you so much. We'd love to have you back maybe a year from now, just to see how the progress has gone on, and the market's going to continue to change and surprise us. And I see nothing but growth in your future. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to y'all soon.